Oh, hello. I was just reading the most romantic book ever written, Debt, the First 5,000 Years by the late anthropologist David Graeber. And it got me thinking, one of modern society's most insipid qualities is the way it can take things and make them into a financial transaction. So how have our concepts of love and relationships been corrupted by this malign influence? How has love been commodified? The book that gets you laid mentions a trade custom, free from money, of an indigenous Australian tribe, the Gunwingu. When an exchange between groups is made, it's an event. There's music, dancing, and, well, a lot of sex. Said fucking isn't being traded for, mind you. It's just part of the overall fun of the two tribes meeting up, almost like the trading was an excuse to go and have a big old party to start with. Sounds rad as hell to me. I bring this up to counter those that can only see human relationships as transactional. They're not. That's a very unhealthy way to view the world. Human relationships are complex and messy. The idea of genuine affection as a trade or based on the amount of shiny things you have is a pure fabrication, conjured up to try and justify structures of power. With that in mind, let's begin. So you want to get on the romance train as an adult under capitalism. Cool. How much time have you got? No, like, how much time do you have free? The time when you're not working, resting, travelling to work, that kind of stuff? The answer is probably less than you think. 24 hours in a day. If you're lucky, you'll be spending 8 hours of them working. Only you won't. The average UK commute, pre-pandemic this is 59 minutes. So 9 hours of work? Again, no. Those 8 hours are just the ones you're paid for. You'll have an hour's worth of breaks spread throughout the day that you aren't paid for, like the commute. Even the 10 hours that works out to isn't right either. UK workers put in an average of 3.3 hours paid overtime a week and a staggering 8 hours unpaid. So let's add that up. 12 hours and 15 minutes of nothing but doing stuff to make someone else rich a day. And of course that's all if you're lucky enough to only have to work one job. But if you work in the gig economy, you can easily get to the stage where you're never not working effectively, for what can work out to be less than minimum wage too. So how exhausted are we? How much does spending over half a day just in the pursuit of enough to survive impact our ability to find those special people in our lives? Well, simply put, we don't have time for relationships, as this article in The Guardian points out.
Long before COVID locked us all in our homes, alone or otherwise, the evidence was pointing out repeatedly that loneliness and singledom are endemic in this phase of capitalism. Fewer people are marrying, and those who are doing so later. We are having less sex. A 2018 study found that 2.4 million adults in Britain suffer from chronic loneliness. Another projection found that nearly 1 in 7 people in the UK could be living alone by 2039, and that those living alone are less financially secure.
But you know what makes this shit even worse? People like this dickhead.
I make pretend that my family dies.
Gary V is one of those fucks so toxically taken over by capitalism that the only thing he wants to do is make sure number goes up. He advocates for people to utterly abandon everything else they possibly can in their life to solely dedicate themselves to useless accumulation of money they'll never spend. It's like they saw that clip from Scarface, you know, with the...
First, you get the money. Then, you get the power. Then, you get the birds.
But got stuck on the money part, repeating it over and over in their heads. So what does this absolute shit of a human advise the odd time when his mind does flick to the world of romance? I bet it's going to be so enlightened and not troubling in any way.
I married my mom.
The exploitation doesn't end when you leave work though. The class of people that are stealing the majority of the value of your labour from you, like this prick, also own everything else. The money they deign to grant you is all but taken away from you by them for the resources you need to survive, and the things that make life worth living in the first place. including, of course, the main ways and places that people meet and develop the tummy butterflies for each other in the first place. So, what do I mean by they own everything? Well, let me show you using this convenient copy of the World Cup France 98 edition Monopoly. So we'll start with the average UK monthly allocation of £2,000, which over half of the population actually receive less than, according to HM Revenue and Customs. Naturally, our first few moves takes us to tax and the like, also known as Switzerland, apparently. So that's 20% on anything over £12,570 per year. For income tax and national insurance is this mess. For our purposes though, it works out to around £335. And if you are one of the 50.2% of the population who have gone to university, you'll also be paying around £31 a month based on our £2,000 starting amount. Again, straight out the gate. Yeah, this whole section is going to be pretty numbers heavy, but if you like good numbers and making those good numbers go even gooder, then why not subscribe and like the video? You should do those things. Ah yes, rent. Our landlord is Belgium, obviously. If you fall into my age range of 25 to 34, it's unlikely that you own your own home. Only 41% of us do. So what's the average UK rent these days? Over £1,000 a month, you say? Well, that's what propertyreporter.co.uk says. Yay! Of course, then there's council tax, which works out as an average of £151.76 per month. Utility bills, £100.05p a month. However, there is a massive rise in energy costs coming in April, so this is only accurate for now. Internet and phone costs, £30.30 and £46.50 respectively. And the average commuting cost in the UK, pre-pandemic, is £126. And finally, food. Which if you're only ever cooking at home and cheaply works out to around £115 per month for a single person. And I've seen estimates that are higher. All of this is just basic survival. These numbers can and will vary a lot. I'm only using averages I've found on the internet. For example, most people earn less money to pay all of this. We've not even got to the third side of the board yet, and we have £57.39 left. Oh, what's that? You know what that means. It's time for the Board Game History Diversion Corner. Fun fact, Monopoly started out as a critique of capitalism called the Landlord's Game. Created by Elizabeth Maggie around 1902, it was stolen by some arsehole called Charles Darrow. He renamed it and made some very minor tweaks to create the iconic World Cup France 98 edition Monopoly board game. But how does all this relate back to love? Well, the last £57.39 you've got to see you through the rest of the month is all your budget for all other luxuries a human needs, like sport, entertainment, treats. This also covers anything our society considers essential for romance. Societal expectations for meeting and courting someone here are based around dates. Traditionally, something like a meal, a few drinks, and maybe a film or a show. And with the understandable desire to impress a potential date, these can be expensive. The average cost of a date per person in the UK is £64.50. The real kicker though, all this money you spend to survive and to make your life livable is going straight to the ownership class. The same class that only pays you a fraction of what your labour is actually worth. Your belt landlord, who owns your gaff and will unblinkingly try to make you homeless if you annoy them in a way. You basically have no choice in this country but to give your money to professional dickhead Sir James Dyson, the richest man in Britain, if you want to eat. He's the biggest single owner of farmland in this country. Sports? If you want to keep on top of your favourites and watch them live on TV, you're going to be helping the ghoulish scrotum of a man Rupert Murdoch get richer because of Sky's de facto monopoly on it all. Video games? Go and watch James Stephanie Sterling's back catalogue to get an overview of which abusive billionaire your money goes to. And if you don't pay your taxes as a member of the working class, then governments have a group of enforcers to deal with us. Designed solely to protect capital and keep us in line, they started out as colonial enforcement, but were brought back to the imperial court to serve the same purpose. They're called the police. They'll take you to jail. You won't pass go. For love, it goes further and is more insidious. Our great romance stories, our fables of true love tell us that wealth doesn't matter. But the commodification of love over the years has tainted that ideal. We've been sold that love means spending over £30,000 on an ultimately symbolic ceremony, which has only existed in any way we'd recognise in the UK since sometime in the 6th century, and then only as a kind of contract and had nothing to do with sentiment. But that's nothing on diamonds. Until NFTs and all that crypto shit came about, diamonds were one of the purest examples of capitalism's artificial scarcity and inherent exploitation. Simply put, diamonds are not rare. The world supply of natural diamonds is kept low on purpose solely by one company founded by one of history's greatest monsters. Cecil Rhodes was English, which is bad enough on its own. He travelled to what would become South Africa as a young man and over the course of many years bought up mines there. These mines are still controlled by the company he founded to run them, De Beers, and through these mines they control 90% of the world's supply of natural diamonds. He did this by stealing land from the native population, genocides of the tribes he couldn't control, keeping his workers in conditions only a whisker above outright slavery, and setting many of the horrific laws in place that would become the backbone of South African apartheid. For more information on this evil piece of shit, Behind the Bastards have done an episode on him. Having an almost complete monopoly on the global supply of diamonds allowed De Beers to inflate the value of them to a ludicrous degree and keep it stably there for well over a century so far. Before De Beers and their incomprehensible contribution to human suffering, diamonds were not linked specifically to romance, at least not beyond whatever sentimentality is gleaned from real expensive gifts. Personally, I'm fine with just like £1 or maybe more than £1 a month. Viewers like you, who like the stuff that I make and want to help me be able to make more of this stuff that you like, can do that by going to patreon.com/CurryMagic and doing that, and so can you. Despite the stranglehold they had, the price of diamonds began declining in the 1930s following the Great Depression. Obviously they couldn't have that. Thus, one of the most successful marketing campaigns in human history was born. The idea was to tie diamonds, specifically diamond rings, directly to love. First came the slogan, "A diamond is forever," coined in the 1940s by Mary Frances Geraghty, I think that's how you pronounce her name. It remained the company's motto for 50 years. This was used in tandem with celebrity endorsements and some of the most egregious examples of product placement in the history of cinema.
A diamond! A girl's best friend.
Today, our society expects, if not demands, diamond engagement rings. This is so ingrained in society that not having one is not only considered wrong and weird, but grounds for a breakup. Fun little bit of Kiri lore here. An ex from a past life broke off our engagement because I couldn't afford one. I was on benefits at the time. The animosity from that completely destroyed the relationship. Don't get me wrong, there were many problems besides that. Many problems. But it definitely didn't help matters. Maybe we moved a bit fast to be talking about engagements and weddings already. Well, we were, obviously, but I meant the video. How do you get to the dating part to start with then? It probably doesn't come as a big surprise that I'm going to rant a bit about dating websites and such here. Over the past 20 years or so, the mainstream adoption and evolution of the internet inevitably brought the world of romance into it. It existed before the year 2002, going back all the way to the 60s, when some absolute nerd made a matchmaking program for one of those giant-ass computers like in the Italian Job. The first internet dating service that we feel familiar with from a modern perspective was launched in 1995, Match.com, still going as well. However, things didn't really kick into gear until the rise of social media in the mid-2000s. Pertinent to myself as a massive gay, an estimated 65% of all queer relationships started online. The source I'm looking at is from the before times though, in the long ago of 2019. So anything, I expect that number to be higher. These companies aren't offering their services from the goodness of their superficially large cartoon hearts, even if you can use them for free. They're making money from us, and not just in the obvious ways either. They all have ways to directly give them money, normally in exchange for some extra features. Features such as limiting the amount of profiles you can see in a day, limiting the amount of matches you can make in a day, limiting the amount of messages you can send in a day, messaging people all together, reading people's profiles, seeing someone's photos, not getting adverts in your potential match list, not getting adverts in message feeds, being able to put more than a paragraph in your profile, being able to upload photos to your profile, being able to make a profile, or any access whatsoever. It varies from company to company as to what you can do before handing over your cash, and I'm not saying they don't work. I know a fair few people that met their current partners through them. I just feel iffy about them as a whole. I can't shake the idea that they're all monetizing loneliness. And they monetize your loneliness even if you're using the free side of their services. Simply put, they sell your data. Mostly to advertising and marketing companies, and what they sell ranges from basic things like your gender and your age, all the way to precise GPS information, which is terrifying. If you don't understand, let me put it this way. These companies have shown that the only thing stopping them from giving your data to anyone is the amount of money on offer. Currently, there are 71 countries in the world where being queer is illegal. 11 of them with the potential punishment of execution. And considering the fact that a vast amount of them actively try to make it so you won't match with someone you could have a long-term relationship with, makes it seem that selling your data is their sole reason for existence. Put simply, it's against their interests to set you up with someone properly. They make money off you being on the site, and you won't use a dating site if you're not looking for someone. The people who run these sites steal your labour, make our laws, and keep the basic necessities of life hostage are a class of people all unto themselves. The class is largely white, cis, straight, culturally Christian men, but not exclusively so. Anyone from any background and every category can be a member of this ruling class, and their interests influence everything. historia del abanico es demasiado extensa para abarcarla ahora, pero su historia en España es muy interesante. Desde el siglo XVIII, los aristócratas usaban el lenguaje del abanico para comunicarse entre sí. Algunos movimientos sutiles con el abanico podrían tener significados muy diferentes, pero los más sencillos eran más fáciles de entender. Por ejemplo, acuerdo, ira y, por supuesto, coqueteo. Our culture is moulded by the whims of the ruling class. What they currently consider attractive and desirable becomes the societal expectation of what people should be. The pressure to fit into that artificial form factor is literally sold to us through magazines, movies, adverts and avatars. Case in point, look at how our perceptions of weight have changed. For centuries, millennia even, in European cultures being plump has been a sign of attractiveness. You're wealthy enough to have an abundance of food. It's a class marker. And it flipped at some point in the early 20th century as the working class began to have access to caloric-rich foods and just plain more of it. Also, the nature of work changed at around the same point. Being working class didn't necessarily mean long days of back-breaking labour anymore. Now it's customer service roles, sitting at a desk having your mental health destroyed, dealing with complaints all day. There are still physically demanding working class roles, of course. I know how utterly exhausting it is to do a long busy shift behind a bar for minimum wage, but being fat is now more seen as a mark of being working class. Our current attractive platonic ideal would have been considered peasant-like 150 years ago. Athletic, tanned bodies now signify that people have had the time and resources to put into working out and travelling to sunnier climes. It's fucking freezing in this garage. These class ideals also influence the social graces. Across the world, in patriarchal, hierarchical, class-based societies, a very common expectation is the social alienation of women, often being forbidden to travel without chaperones, with the education available to them limited, and their means of communication censored. And it wasn't unheard of for even speaking to a man you weren't related to being completely taboo. This restraint is why we see such things as the language of the fan develop. Another example would be floriography, or the language of flowers. Flowers have long held symbolic meanings, changing through time and cultures for as far back as current knowledge allows. However, our modern understanding of flower symbology stems from its use during the 18th and 19th centuries amongst the English aristocracy. Complex coded messages could be sent between parties using the fruits of the horticultural expertise of the day. One could send a message of warm, everlasting friendship, a declaration of rivalry and hatred, or, perhaps, an invitation for an illicit rendezvous. White, cis, straight Christian men are disproportionately members of the ruling class, and it's their attitudes that inform the rest of society as to what is acceptable or not. This is why things like LGBT and minority rights took so long to be a thing, why miscegenation and women's rights were considered ludicrous ideas not worthy of thought for far too long. Frankly, a lot of bigotries and systemic inequalities we're still fighting against in the modern day have their basis rooted in the arrogance and ignorance of these privileged fuckers. They enclosed the common land, they stole the world, and they colonised our minds. But capitalism is not invincible. We can beat it. Let's discuss how. So what do we do to better this situation? Simply put, communism! No, not like that. Idealising the past sure is a gateway to repeating the same mistakes, and I don't want to waste my time here with my critiques of the Soviet Union or whatever. To build a better world for the future, we have to be dealing with the material conditions and the needs of the people here in the present. Here's where we can take the ideas of the past and apply them. Communism is a stateless, moneyless, classless system where everyone's needs are met as a matter of first course. It has to be liberatory to everyone. All bigotries need to be seen as the reactionary shite they are. Because, like I said in the last part, systemic oppression is a symptom of capitalism and only reinforces it. So how do we get there? First of all, join a union. What socialist progress that has been made in the 20th century is very closely related to the actions of unions and labour movements. The first kind of social safety net put into place in the UK was a direct result of a general strike in the 20s. Unions also ensure that the exploitation of labour isn't as bad as it could be. Union action brought us things like not having to work 12 hours a day, the introduction of fixed working hours, holidays, even the weekend are attributable to them. There's not just labour unions, but there's also tenants unions, disability unions, and in some places at least, unemployment unions. They all work off the same principles of reducing the harm we experience under capitalism and communal strength. Even though we're forced to engage in capitalism to some extent, as it's the system we live under, we can still mitigate its harms. Mutual aid networks are great examples of this. People give what they can and take what they need without money changing hands. It works on the wild idea that just giving people what they need is good and cool. And it is! The sexy, bearded Pyotr Kropotkin also wrote a whole book about it. Kind of several books really, but there is one that's explicitly called it. Mutual aid doesn't just materially improve the lives of everyone involved, it can maintain strikes, help in disaster relief. It can also be the cornerstone to building something that my boy Vlad called dual power. Lenin put forward that building support systems away from the state and away from capitalism, and when people start using those systems ahead of the state, then you've built kind of adjacent but separate power to the system, ready to step in. Frankly, when people have had enough of the current system. Working back to what this video is superficially about for a minute, what better place is there to meet like-minded, passionate individuals who care about the world like yourself than in a community of people doing the work to make the world a better place? Seeing the problems inherent in the systems we live in is not enough on its own, and can easily lead to nihilism. Realising that a better world is possible is the key to making it happen. Lovers of the world, rise up! We have nothing to lose but our chains. We have a world to win. Oh hello, it's me, frazzled editing hole Kiri. I've got a phaser appointment in an hour, and so this is the last time I can actually record something with my face for a while. And also I need to brush my hair, so get out of the shower. So do it now, do everything, yay! Anyway, yeah, thank you for watching, and please do like and subscribe and stuff. And I've got that Patreon which I've just launched. In blind optimism, if I'm honest, but still, yay, I love you. It's patreon.com/KiriMagic. Also, big shout outs and thanks to DJ Muel and Black Jess for agreeing to appear in the video and then subsequently appearing in the video. Yay, I like yous. And a big massive shout out to my wonderful Spanish teacher, mi maestra de España magnífica, Irene Reyero Calera. Sorry, I hope I've pronounced your name right. I'm really sorry if I haven't. Everyone's got links down in the thing. So go press them. As well as my links, I do Twitch on occasion. I haven't since the start of the year, really, but I will start back up soon. Also, like, yeah, this was pretty obviously a video that was pretty much just an introductory kind of lesson to Marxism. So I put some book recommendations as well down there. I mean, there's some obvious ones like the Communist Manifesto, for example. You can find that online for free. It's not that long. And Debt the First 5,000 Years, the book that gets you laid. Yeah, be cool, like each other. Oh, and there was something else. Stupid ADHD brain. Oh, yeah, Ripley did get a treat. Here, look, as I shrink.